Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Alex Juarez. I'm the Communications Director for AARP Arizona, and we're here today for Back to Basics with Coach SheriAnne. We apologize that we're not live today at the park, at our AARP Fit Lot, but due to weather, we're expecting rain here in Arizona. We thought it would be better just to do it on our virtual type that we've done in the past before. So AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation and approximately 900,000 here in Arizona, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to families: health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. In the month of March, we're focusing on managing debt, maximizing savings, and increasing retirement savings. AARP can help you make sure your money lives as long as you do by helping you save money, pay down debt, and maximize benefits. We have the resources, expert content, and tools for consumers to manage debt and deal with the unexpected expenses. We also have resources to help you plan for retirement and ideas to help increase your short and long-term savings. Please visit us at aarp.org/money tools. Again, that's aarp.org/money tools to learn more. And again, thank you to Back to Basics with Coach SheriAnne. And I'm going to turn it over to Coach SheriAnne. Hello, Coach SheriAnne. How are you?
Good, Alex. Thank you so much. We both got home from vacation this weekend, so we come home to a cloudy Arizona, which is unusual for us, and so
that is right. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm bummed that we're not in person at the park, but I totally get that rain can make things a little challenging to be out at the park. So here we are. So today we're talking about the benefits of balance, and it's so critical to maintain our balance. And it's one of those things that we just kind of take for granted and don't really put any focus on. And, but what is balance? Balance is the ability to maintain an upright position. And we really want to try to focus on being able to do that, not only in a static situation, but in a dynamic situation when you're moving. Static is when you're just still, dynamic is when you're moving. And posture stability is just really being able to just maintain your center of gravity over your base of support, which is your feet. That's what touches the ground. So it's one of those things, though, that just slowly dissipates with age. And before we know it, it's like, where did it go?
But why is that? Why do we lose balance as we age?
That's a really great question. So our balance is there's three parts to it. And so we have our sensory motor, which is how our limbs and the feedback from our feet, our back, and everything sends to our brain. So we have that connection that's, it's our proprioceptors that let us know where we are in time and space. So then we have the visual component. And as we all know, eyesight it degrades as we age. So we lose, our eyesight isn't as good, our depth perception isn't as good. Thankfully, I haven't had to resort to readers yet, but I know it's, around the corner. I keep getting, poked at by people like, you don't have to wear readers yet? And I'm like, nope, it's coming though, I know. And the other third part of that is our vestibular, which is our inner ear. So those three components are what really is part of your balance. So it's your proprioceptors, your communication, your sensory motor skills. That's from your limbs, mainly your feet, your back, to your brain, the communication, our eyes, and then our inner ear. And so it just, those things degrade over time. And so that's why we tend to lose balance as we age. And so it's important to do things and keep that looped system, because it's a looped system where it's our brain talking to our body and our body talking to our brain. Make sure that we keep it sharp, as sharp as we can. Because, in your eyesight, just make sure that as it's degrading, you are getting your eyes checked and wearing eyeglasses or contacts or doing LASIK. There's so many things nowadays that you can do with your eyes. As far as your inner ear goes, it's just one of those things where, have you ever noticed though, when you're sick, if you have a congestion in your ear, like you just feel kind of like wobbly a little bit? Have you ever had a major ear infection where it's done that to you?
It sure does. As a matter of fact, I feel it right today because I just got off a ship, a cruise. I feel dizzy. I feel like I'm still on the ship rocking.
That would not be a fun feeling. But, according to the National Council of Aging, every 11 seconds, an elderly person is being seen because they have fallen. And as we all know, like if you are an elderly person and you fall, there's this great fear of injury, because if you get injured as you get older, it's harder to recover. And if you break a hip, it lays you up, and you have all kinds of issues that could snowball and get worse for you. So it's really important to pay attention to doing things to maintain that balance and not waiting until it's gone. But even if you've gotten to the point to where you're older and you're like, my balance is gone, like, what do I do now? You can improve it. These are things you can create, new pathways in your brain that talk to your body. So you're never too old to start working on doing some things to help maintain that balance. But some of the benefits, it's a great phrase of, when I think about balance, it's you got to use it or you're going to lose it. It's one of those things where it just falls into that category. You got to use it or you're going to lose it. And so challenging your body in different ways, one of the best ways to challenge in a fun way is dancing.
Oh, look
So
at that. Right.
not only can it liven your soul and make you happy and feel good, but the idea of dancing really helps you work on your balance, time and space. And so reversing some age-related, loss of balance, one of the biggest things is just go dancing and have fun with it. Dance with your grandchildren if you don't want to go dance with your partner, or dance with your friend. But, we have a dance party in your house. You don't necessarily have to go somewhere, but liven up, like put some fun music on and start dancing. And you don't have to be elaborate. You don't have to be doing the salsa or, anything, too challenging. Just start moving your body, and you can start with just easy moves in your own kitchen. If you need to use a chair to stabilize you, you can do that, but just start having some fun, because not only you're going to feel good.
You mentioned a word that caught my attention: reversing. So a person that is struggling with balance and has had some issues, maybe falling, they can reverse that process then?
Yes. And that's what I said earlier, but you can create new pathways in the brain.
Okay.
The brain is always wanting to be challenged. We just have to challenge it. So when you can create new pathways of communication from your brain to your limbs. So absolutely, you can. You just have to create the opportunity, and then you've got to repeat it. So you've got to keep doing it, and be consistent with it. And you can create those new pathways 100%. Yep.
Well, that's
why I was saying, you're never too old.
Yeah, exactly. So we know that with to have good balance, you use balance really for everything: walking, getting out of a chair, leaning over to tie your shoes. I mean, you need balance for all that. I would imagine then probably having stronger muscles or working on your muscles is key. It's very important.
Yes, absolutely. So being physically active is going to help you. It's going to be twofold. Not only are you going to maintain your muscular structure, but it's also going to help with your balance, because you're going to be challenging yourself. So yeah, if you are sedentary and you're not using your muscles, then yes, your ability to get up out of a chair without using your hands is going to be hard, and catching yourself if you've been out walking and you don't pick your foot up all the way because you're just kind of weak and you can't lift your leg all the way to get up on a curb and you catch your toe. Are you going to be able to catch yourself, stagger step so that you don't end up on the ground, So having that muscular structure is definitely very important, and that's one of the things, that you can, if you're viewing now, we have an archive of sessions that you can go back and look at. And there's plenty that I've talked about. And I know coming up this summer, I'll be talking about staying active, and especially during the hot months as we go into summer. But yeah, staying active is a huge part of preventing your balance from diminishing 100%. And having that muscular structure and not being sedentary. The second benefit from maintaining your balance is you're going to prevent falls. Yeah. So like I was saying, like you'll be able to catch yourself if you have good balance. Because once again, what I said balance is maintaining your center of gravity, above your base of support, which is your feet, so if you start to fall, you want to be able to catch yourself. And if you can catch yourself, think about how much that boosts your confidence.
Right.
And so back to, talking about moving, a lot of people that know that they don't have good balance have created this vicious cycle of not moving because they're afraid of falling.
Mm.
So they're less active. They're not going to move as much, which it creates, like I said, this vicious cycle of you're not moving because you're afraid of falling, but now you've increased your chances of falling because you're not moving.
Yes.
So it's important. And I'll give some tips here in a little bit later on the show about how to get going, and how to create those little baby steps, so to speak, to get that balance back, and so, I said baby steps, so it just made me think, if you've ever watched your grandchild, or if you've raised kids, you've watched your kids or any other child learning how to walk, it's the coolest thing because they're so flexible because their muscular structure is different than us as adults. And plus their body with their limb lengths is different, but they get into like this tripod position, where they get their feet right below them and they're bent over with their hands. And then they grab something and they kind of get, upright. And so they're in this upright position, which is to maintain that upright position. That is balance. So they just kind of figure out like how to be there. And the next thing you know, they like take a step, they take these little tiny steps and they just keep their center of gravity over their feet. They move their feet necessary, and it's the same thing as, the older you get. So you're just going to have to relearn how a child walks, and maintaining that balance if you've let it go to that point where you're afraid of falling, which is unfortunately very, very common.
So why is it that as we age and gets to a point that people start shuffling and not picking up their feet? Is that part of the balance?
It's kind of a 2-in-1 thing in the sense of part of its balance. They've just kind of let it go. And the other is not being active enough and not creating that muscular structure within their hips and their legs to be able to lift their legs. So that's how shuffling comes about, is they just don't want to do the hip hinge of lifting the leg. And so whenever like when I was with my mom, when my mom would get tired, I'm like, march, you got to march. And if you march in your head, you're thinking like picking your legs up like to a 90-degree angle, and but if you're tired, you're really only lifting it just enough. But I'm like, overdo it. Pretend like you're full on marching, and so whenever you're tired and you're walking, imagine yourself marching, because you won't really march because you'll just be too tired. But if you kind of take your head and think about lifting your leg that high, you'll at least get it high enough to where you're not going to drag your feet or stub your toe.
Yeah. So we become a little lazy as we age. That's one of the issues there.
Yes, you said, but yes, we do. And I think part of it is just it's tired, and it's not finding the joy in the movement, and I think it's important to find joy in movement. Right. And, not to go back to like a couple of weeks ago when we were, broadcasting from Costa Rica, but even elderly people there in their 70s are out doing yard work. They find the joy in moving their body because they know they're going to feel good, and so one of the other benefit number 3 is having balance is also going to build better posture, and so if you've noticed, older people have a tendency that aren't as active and focusing on movement. They have a tendency to let their shoulders roll forward, and so they have like the hunched back, shoulders forward. They have what we call the anterior pelvic tilt, which is where the hips kind of roll forward. So they've got kind of like this look, and because their hips come forward as well as their shoulders hunch.
Yep.
You have reduced upper back flexibility and mobility because your body's just all like hunched over. So balance can also help with good posture because you've got to make sure that you're staying upright and being able to move appropriately. So it's going to definitely help with posture. The next benefit is it's going to allow you to recover a whole lot faster if something happens, if you
Right.
do stumble and fall, because your body will know how to move, or if you twist your ankle, like you're just going to recover that much faster if you are working on it on a consistent basis.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
your coordination is going to be more improved. It's interesting to me. It's always been very interesting to me, the body, how we start out as these little humans that are learning how to be coordinated and move their
Right,
bodies, control their bodies. Then we go through life and then we revert back to that, where we're not able to have coordination, not
right,
have as good a balance, not be able to move as freely. Um, but my goal in longevity, not only for myself but also educating people, is to educate people to stay, with longevity, to
right.
keep the movement at an all-time high, because it is going to deteriorate. But if you're focused on moving, then you'll be able to maintain that coordination, that flexibility, that balance, that ability to just have some longevity and vivacious, have, life to your years,
Yeah,
and so I
exactly.
think it's
So you
so.
mentioned that you were going to provide some tips. What apparatus, machines, things can you use, or if you don't have it, what can you use at home to work on your balance?
So you don't really need a whole lot. Of course, there's a lot of things out there that you can go do. One of the objects that I do have that I really love is a stability disc, and you can buy these at Target,
Hmm.
online, and all it is it's knobby on one side and smooth on
Hmm.
the other, and you can inflate it with a like a ball pump, and the
Hmm.
fuller inflated it is, the harder it is, the more it wobbles. The
Hmm.
less air in it, it's easier to manage. But there's air in here, so when you stand on it with one foot, it creates some instability in the ankle, and so your proprioceptors, which are the signals that are in that ankle, send a message to the brain like, we're unstable here. And so all of those muscles and those ancillary muscles in the ankle and lower leg have to work extra hard to stabilize that ankle. So I mean, you can go get little stability discs like this, but it's not necessary. If you're looking for a more advanced level, then you can go get it. But the beauty of this too is you can play with it as a beginner. Just don't put a lot of air in it, and the better you get, put more air in it, because it's harder to maintain.
Hmm.
Um, we also have what we call a Bosu ball, which is just a big, one of the big balls, but cut in half. So it's got a
Yes.
hard side on one side and it's a dome on the other.
Hmm. Right.
And so, but I also have teenagers, and then we have a whole board that sits on a ball, and you
Right.
have to balance on the
Balance.
board. Once
Hmm.
again, though, I have teenagers, and so we like to skateboard and surf and all those kinds of things. So having those kind of tools and toys are fun, but they're so not necessary. I mean, you can do very, very simple things. Like if you're in the shower, or brushing your teeth, like let's just say when you're brushing your teeth, try standing on one foot when you brush your teeth,
Okay.
and just brush your teeth standing on that one foot. And then if you're right-handed, to brush your teeth, stand on your left foot, so have it be opposite. And then try having it be on the same side. Um, and see how long you can stand on one foot, and because we should be brushing our teeth for a pretty extended amount of time if you do it correctly.
Yeah.
So that's why I say when you're brushing your teeth. Um, so like halfway through, you can switch over if you're brushing your teeth for the 3 minutes that we're supposed to. Um, but so try standing on one foot, and then if you want to make things even a little more fun, try closing your eyes. So stand on
Right.
one foot and close your eyes.
Hmm.
And if you need to, just put your hand on the countertop so that you don't teeter over.
Right.
Because once you close your eyes and you don't have that visual cue, you'll feel yourself kind of like wobble quite a bit. And so just sometimes all you need is a little finger,
Hmm.
because that's our sensory motor skills. Like just a finger on the counter lets you know the counter's right there, so you don't have to like teeter forward and backwards. But once we lose that visual cue, our body definitely is like, whoa, don't have anything to like focus on. So which way am I going? So try standing on just one foot for 30 seconds. If you can go longer, awesome. But if you can't go longer, close your eyes and see how long you can go with your eyes closed. And then if you have to touch the counter. And then the next step would be to not touch anything and just stand there with your eyes closed on one foot.
Mm-hmm.
So simple, super easy, just to kind of give you an idea of where you're at with your stability. And so another one is walk heel to toe. So if you want to create like a line on your carpet, or if you have tile in your house, you can follow one line in the tile. Or if you're outside, there's plenty of lines on sidewalks and things like that. So if you want to go to the park, but walk heel to toe in a straight line and see, it's part of the sobriety test. See if you can, walk heel to toe in a straight line and see how well you do. That's a great way for you to tell if you're teetering left and right.
Okay.
Because we do have one side that's more dominant than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find it to be easy if your left foot's in front or your right foot's in front, when you're walking, you'll feel. So heel to toe, try to go at least like 20 steps and see how it feels. And then after that, walk backwards, heel to toe, 20 steps. Because walking backwards is a totally different feeling than walking forward, and it challenges the brain and creates new synapses. So make sure you're walking forward and backwards. Another one is to go from seating to standing without using your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised at how many people are not capable of doing it. And don't rock. Just don't rock to get yourself up. Just be sitting there and then stand up without using your hands, because that is not only your hip strength, but that's your core strength as well. And that's all very, very important to maintaining balance. So just see if you can, and if you can't stand without using your hands, then that's something you definitely want to work on doing. And how you can do that is when you're sitting there, pick your feet up off the ground, plant them firmly, and then just stand up and do it dynamically. Instead of because if we do it statically, people have a tendency that's when they tend to rock to try to get momentum to get up. So definitely work on those hips to be able to stand without using your hands.
You said lifting your feet up
Yep.
and then planting them?
Yep. So if you're just sitting, lift them up, put your feet on the ground and stand up dynamically.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Another one is to do heel raises. So, go up on your toes.
Yes.
So just do heel raises. And then if you get to a point where you can do 10 to 20 and you're totally comfortable, try doing it just on one foot. Just do a heel raise on one foot. And then go back to the other foot and try to do it on the other foot. Once again, the next step is close your eyes. Do your heel raises with your eyes closed.
Right.
You'll be surprised at how hard that is. But that's a good one to really do. The next one is to walk on your tippy toes. Just pick a spot in your house that you walk on your tippy toes and then walk on your heels. So super basic things that people don't even think about, but they are so good to do. So walk on your toes one direction and then turn around and walk on your heels the next, back to the same starting spot. And walking on your tippy toes and walking on your heels just changes the way that your feet send messages to your brain. So it's going to help work on that balance. And if you like to go on walks and you're typically out doing the sidewalk, for your walks, try finding a trail. Walking on uneven surfaces is one of the best things that you can do, because once again, all of those ancillary muscles in the ankles are, lower leg are sending messages to the brain. And that's your foundation, is your feet. So, and I always encourage people to walk with shoes that are comfortable, but don't disconnect you from the ground. We have a tendency to get these really big cushy shoes, like platform shoes almost, and it removes us from the ground. And so it makes the brain have to work even harder. Okay. And so I'm a big proponent of, doing a shoe that's comfortable and supports your foot, but allows you also the opportunity to feel the ground, and make sure it's, you're feeling what you need to, especially on uneven surfaces. So go for a trail walk, and it doesn't have to be a super steep anything. You can just go get on the dirt, and having the rocks beneath your feet and uneven surfaces makes you have to work even more.
Yeah. How important is it to occasionally, or some people, walk barefoot all the time, but how important is it, to be barefoot?
That's I'm only chuckling because it's such a controversial thing. I'm barefoot almost all the time.
Mhm.
I'm in flip-flops, like super basic flip-flops.
Okay.
My running shoes are zero, like they're a zero flat, they're a flat shoe. So
Uh-huh.
a lot of shoes now have a heel raise, so they
Right.
call it a drop. So from your heel to your toe, you don't really want it to drop more than 3 millimeters. 5 is okay.
Mhm.
Anything above that, there's a lot of shoes that have like 9 millimeter
Oh,
drops.
right.
Um, and the reason that came out was because Nike back in the day when they were creating the waffle shoe
Right.
and people were heel strikers and they were getting injured. So they made the heel so much more cushiony than the toe. And plus, it was helping propel people forward because the heel is higher.
Right.
Uh, but once again, that kind of messes with how we're designed to walk.
Sure.
So I'm much more of a proponent of a minimalist shoe, but making sure it does support you because everyone has a different type of instep, which is like the middle of your foot, your
Mhm.
arch. Um, so I want to be careful with, not giving away, do what's right for your foot, making sure that your foot is supported well, because that is your foundation, but make sure that you're, connected to the earth, and not wearing these huge platform shoes.
Excellent. Very good. Excellent. Any other tips, Coach?
I mean, no, that's pretty much it. Just don't be afraid to test your balance. That's the one thing I think I experience the most with people as they age is they're afraid to because they're afraid of falling or afraid of failure. But you
Mhm.
can start out with such easy things in your home, like the tips I just gave you, just to test your balance and to see where you're at. And then, but have some fun with it, like dancing. You'll be so surprised to see how good it feels to build your confidence to know that you are stable. And so if you don't feel like you are stable, do the tips I gave you, build that confidence up because you definitely want to maintain it. You don't want to let it get away from you. It's so important. We don't need people falling. We need people staying healthy and living, healthy lives.
Very important. Excellent. Well, you've heard it from Coach SheriAnne. Uh, if you're sitting on the couch, if you're sitting in your recliner, let's get up. Let's start moving. Let's start exercising. Let's dance, walk, do some exercises. The tips that Coach SheriAnne gave us are really important for our balance. We definitely want to keep you healthy. So next show is on April 4th, I believe. What are we talking about next
Uh,
time?
the importance of sleep. One of
Importance of
my
sleep.
favorite topics that people are like, don't think anything of it, but sleep is so critical. So, so critical. So, yeah, the importance of sleep and some sleep tips to help you get to sleep and maintain sleep. And if you're waking up in the middle of the night, we'll cover that. So, sleep.
Excellent. Very good. Well, again, we apologize for not being outdoor today, but due to rain in Phoenix, we decided just to do the show indoor. And next time it'll be also a virtual show. So we invite you to join us. And then the following 2 weeks after the April 4th, we'll be back out in the park at the AARP Fit Lot Park at Rose Mofford. So we invite you to join us there if you can on a live session. So, Coach SheriAnne, as usual, thank you so much. Great tips. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Hopefully you follow those tips from Coach SheriAnne, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you again.